Hey, what's up? It's Jason Wojo, your host for the Life Inner Show. On the Life Inner Show, we help people make more, work less, which is awesome, and create a life and business they love. I am joined by my co-host, Polish Peter. What's up, brother?
Hey, man, I am still on the high from
Dude, you
this
sound
event
high.
that we just did.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it was an amazing Get-A-Life Getaway we had in Nashville. It was a
Yeah.
sold-out event. We literally had to pile extra chairs into the room to get
Bro, it's
people able
packed.
to sit there. Yeah, it was awesome. So,
Bro, it was amazing. It was sold out. And yeah, it was awesome. And so we were thinking it would be really cool for us to just share a little bit about that event with you, but even more so, like some of the specific lessons that come out of these things, because, you know, we've been doing these events since 2008 and the people's lives are transformed like nothing you can imagine. And we wanted to share some of that with you. Now, to give you some context here, the Get-A-Life Getaway, Life Inner has two events. Okay. We have the Get-A-Life Getaway and the Business Builder Workshop. And so what we do at the Get-A-Life Getaway is help people reverse engineer their perfect life in every single area. We have them create a vision. We have them figure out, you know, the actual action steps to get there. This isn't a pie in the sky, you know, singing kumbaya approach to living and having a good life. It's actual strategy. It's techniques. It's steps. It's having a plan, a blueprint to do that. And then we do everything from figuring out exactly what your days could look like if you wanted them to, and you controlled everything from your calendar to your finances. We have them figure out what your vision costs, like what's the actual dollar value if you want to live every part of your life. How much does that really cost? And I'll tell you, the number always shocks people. We have people figure out every part of this entire thing. They walk out of there with a clear vision and understanding the process to create one. That's a Get-A-Life Getaway. That's what we just did. We're going to talk about that. The Business Builder Workshop is basically reverse engineering your business around your life. And so at the Get-A-Life Getaway, you create your vision for your life. Now at the Business Builder Workshop, we're going to help you figure out how to make the money, how to create a business that supports that lifestyle. So maybe you come to the Get-A-Life Getaway and you figure out, hey, I can only work 10 hours per week without compromising my vision. Awesome. Come to the Business Builder Workshop. We'll help you figure out how to do that and how to make the money you want, you know, full-time income with part-time effort. And so that's the two events. Let's talk, man, like about the lessons we just had from this Get-A-Life Getaway for people who weren't there.
all right. So you want me to go first, I see.
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
do it, man.
So one of the...
Age before beauty.
Age before beauty. Yeah, look who's talking. Yeah. For listeners, you can vote on somebody's hair, how old they're doing on their hair.
This isn't just hair, man. This is the whole...
Hair is a big part of the age people. So
okay.
I think I might have just offended a whole bunch of other people.
Good job. I hope nobody's going to listen now. I hope you're happy.
Right. Now we have two people listening to our podcast.
Yeah, your mom and my mom.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So listen, one of the biggest lessons that I got out of this particular, and we can go one each day at a time because there was 3 days in total.
Yeah.
But from the first day, it struck me how people start looking from the perspective how I need to get the life done first. The life part has to come first before I can figure out something else.
Yeah.
Because if you look at everything that's happening in today's world, in today's country and all that kind of stuff, a lot of us have different circumstances that are happening, right? Life changes, whether it's, you know, the economy or whatever might be going on in people's lives. And what ends up happening is we tend to make the decision based on the current circumstance in our life.
Yeah.
So figuring out what you want your life to look like is that much more important to be able to know where you want to go to, so you don't make your decision so much on the current circumstances. Rather, you start making decision towards the future that's going to lead you to it.
Yeah, dude, that's a huge one. And actually, there's two parts of that I'd comment on. The first one is everybody thinks like, you know, I got to worry about making money first. I want to have all the stuff first, and then I'll have a great life. That's not true. That is absolutely not true. It's been disproven multiple times. And we can have a whole discussion around that. But the second part that you said is really super important because people filter. People have a lens and a perspective of like, hey, this is either not possible because of my, you know, oh, you don't understand, like I can't do that because, right? Or I'd like to do that, but. And whenever you catch yourself saying those words, you're applying a filter, what you think that what you think is possible is really much less than what is actually possible. And what I mean by that is, you know, when you can remove yourself from your current situation, forget about current obstacles or limitations or your current job or your current schedule or whatever you have to do in your life, now you can kind of dream without inhibition to start to see what you really want. Now, I'm not saying that like that could be daunting, that can be intimidating, that can feel impossible. But otherwise you're just filtering, and you're never going to get truly where you want to get, because you're going to be stuck kind of with a version of what you have now.
Right. And that's why I think a lot of people keep going around in those circles or in the pattern in life that just keeps showing up over and over and over again, just different ways.
Yeah.
Because they don't have that beacon that, like you refer to it as the lighthouse. I refer to it as a GPS, that life vision that they can move towards and look towards and focus on and make their decision based on to how do I get there quicker.
Well, dude, and so I literally just about an hour ago got off the phone with one of my friends, and he is in a state that he hates. He hates this state. And I said, "Hey, man, well, what about moving somewhere?"
North Carolina, is it?
No, it's not. And I'm not saying the state because I don't want to incriminate him. And he hates the state. There's nothing about it he likes. The weather, the politics, the congestion, the expenses of living, everything. And I said, "Hey, man, well, why don't you consider, you've mentioned before moving somewhere warmer. Why don't you consider that?" And he said, "Oh, man, yeah, I would, but I already have some clients here, and I'm thinking about ramping up my business here." I'm like, "Well, why don't you just ramp it up somewhere else? Like you can easily do that somewhere else." He's like, "Yeah, but I don't know, man. Like I have my workers here." I was like, "You can find workers somewhere else." And I said, he said, "Yeah, but everything I said," and the other thing he said is,
"But,"
and yeah, he's like, then he asked me about, he's like, "Hey, do you hire a bookkeeper?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course. I'm not doing that." I'm like, "You should hire somebody too. It's going to cost you maybe $30 an hour or something like that. Not much." He's like, "Yeah, but how do you trust somebody?" "Yeah, but," and everything he said was, "Yeah, but," and I'm like, "Dude, like, then we started talking about how his business is completely dependent on him, and he's had health issues in the past. I'm like, "Man, you got to start moving towards stage 4 cash flow where your assets are providing income." "Yeah, but everything up here is super expensive and it's oversaturated and everybody's doing." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like it doesn't matter what I say. This guy has a story about it."
Yeah.
And so
how many buts does he have?
I know, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because notice, like, that's just how a lot of times happens for people. And it's, it's not something that, just one-off kind of a conversation. This is the kinds of conversation that we have a lot of times, especially on day one, when it comes to people before they start looking at their vision.
That's right.
But there's those limiting beliefs.
Well, because day one, we tell people the Get-A-Life Getaway is really structured like almost like a renovation. Like if you've ever watched HGTV, the first thing you go in there is demo day. And so this is where we're helping people uncover and discover the limiting beliefs that have held them back. And sometimes it's so funny how sometimes like you don't see it yourself, but everybody else sees it. And they're like, "No, you're filtering." You're like, "No, I'm not." "Yeah, you are.
So did you have any big takeaway out of the first day?
Man, a big takeaway I got, is that people really, if you can get past the filtering and just allow yourself to dream, because that's the other thing I think is like people are afraid to dream. People are afraid to be let down. It's just like, let's say you've tried to lose weight and you get inspired and motivated and you think you have the next big thing that will work for you, but then you kind of pull back and you're like, "Man, I've failed so many times before. I'm reluctant to try again, because if I fail again, like it's so disappointing and I feel I beat myself up." And I think people are like that with their vision. Like people come back to this Get-A-Life Getaway over and over again. And the reason is because they create that first vision, and it's totally too easy. I don't want to say the bar is too low, but like they accomplish it in a year. And they're like, "Wow, I'm already living my vision." And they come back and they realize like they were playing small. And so that's one lesson I think people need to look at is like, don't play small. Don't play it safe. By the way, safe is like the most dangerous of all. And really dream. And when you do that and when you think outside of your current filters, like you'll really start to understand what you want, not what somebody else said you should do, not what's safe, not what you're complacent with, right? But what you actually want.
Yeah, which leads really perfectly into day 2, when we literally start working on your vision, start breaking down a lot of those limiting beliefs, and we start painting a picture of what your life is going to look like. Because we had people do awesome exercises the night before as a homework, and now they came back to the room and they're sharing some of the homework. So
Yeah.
huge takeaways out of that day. I wish we could go into a lot more details about specific people that they have breakthroughs, but we say what's said in this room stays in this room. So we want to honor that with all the people here. But the breakthroughs that we've had, I mean, personal breakthroughs. And one of the biggest things that I got out of this day, I think that hit me differently than most of the other times, is that people are powerful in ways that we can't even imagine when they get real with themselves. When they see like who they really are, all of a sudden, a lot of that crap, a lot of this stuff that they've been put on, that they've been carrying, can start to fall away.
Yeah.
Because like, if you remember the one lady, when she literally just saw herself, like, I mean, I'm already that kind of person. I'm trying to do all those different things and figure out all those different things. And when I really sit down and get, do these exercises and get to the real nitty gritty of who I am as a person, I'm already there.
She's already powerful. She's already amazing. She already has all these things going for her. And yet she was trying to prove it, not realizing she was already there. Like, think about, you as a listener right now. Imagine some area of your life you're struggling to you're grasping for things, you're trying to improve, you're stretching, you're trying to achieve this thing. But I want to encourage you, just look for a moment. Like, is it already there? Like, are you already there? Are you already powerful? Are you already amazing? You're not broken. Okay. You're not broken. Like, and so when you can really let go of external validation, when you can truly not rely on somebody else for the verification of your worth, it's pretty amazing. And that theme popped up several times over this event, where people really, like, once they let go of that, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, you could see like just energy shift in the room, and there was like this freedom behind it, right? There was like this, it was lifted, it was lighter, and all those kinds of things. Because here's the thing, one of the participants said that I need to change 180. Really? I mean, if you think about it, if you need to change 180, that's a lot of work. Yeah. That's going to take a lot of work. And I said, and I'm going to say it here on this particular podcast, is think about it this way. You don't need to change anything, because if you really go back to years and years and years, even when you were a kid, you didn't have all these limiting beliefs. You didn't think that, money is this or that, or people are like this or that, and all those relationships, because you didn't have much experience with them. So you have this freedom of who you are as a person. And then all these beliefs, you basically learn them as you kept going on in life. So now it's about if you just shift it, you can put a subtitle underneath it.
Shifted. I know how you,
exactly.
Right. There's an F in there. Your
focus by 1 degree, only 1 degree. Imagine what can happen over a month, 2 months, 2 years, 5 years in the longs. It just goes further and further away from that one person towards the other person. Yeah. And we've had so many experiences with a whole bunch of different people. I have one in mind who now is like one of our biggest Life on Our fans, that when he came in, he knew everything. He was like now he's a completely different person. And it's not because he's a different person. He just shifted his focus and became that person that he really wanted to be.
That's right, man. And the thing is, with those minor shifts, and I said this in the room as well, it's, you think of like, hey, I'm 1% better this week. And you say that 52 weeks, you're 52% better, but it's actually not the case. Like, because I believe when it comes to personal growth and development, that investment you're making into yourself is not simple interest, it's compound interest. And so it goes from, 1% to 1.1%, and it grows exponentially and compounds exponentially rather than simply. And so it just makes a huge effect. And that's where, I also want to say, you may see people in your life who seem to have it all together and they're amazing and they're fantastic. Mm-hmm. Well, what you don't know is they started where you are too. Now, maybe it was younger, maybe it was many years ago, but everybody has a similar learning curve. It's just a matter of really investing in yourself, stepping forward despite fear, being willing to fall on your face and you get back up and try it again. And eventually through these lessons, every time you experience something, you get further and further along until someday you're looked at that as that successful person who's crushing it, who's killing it, whatever you want to say. And now you're looking at them like they're something special, and they're not.
Right. And that's what the conversation was we had in the room about that when you start living that vision, you start putting your vision out there and start taking action towards the vision, people are going to think you're nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas later on, what happens?
They become envious.
Successful.
Everybody's looking at you like, hey, how did you do that? You know,
Right.
I've said this before. I am convinced my neighbors think I'm a drug dealer. Like, I walk out of the house, I have a gym shirt on and gym pants and flip flops, and they're like, does this
White
guy even
t-shirts,
work? Yeah.
well,
Even before all the
kind of looking like this,
even before everybody worked from home and everything like that, like this is what I did. And people are like, how does this guy make money? And that has led to a lot of my friends being like, man, like, how do you do this? And I'll tell you, here's the other lesson. One of the other lessons I told people to get used to and accept is that not everybody's going to come with you on this journey. And so this is also ties back into the first thing we said, which is like, you got to let go of that external frame of reference with others around you, because what happens is, if like, let's say you're pursuing this path and you start moving forward and you start living like a life in air, people are going to look at you a little weird and they may wonder what's going on. And if you let that doubt or that negative attitude or the speculation or the people saying, this is dumb or it's stupid, it's not going to work, you're going to get contaminated. You're going to give up. And that's why, it's so important to like be around, we talk about this a lot, the right people who are pouring into you, who are encouraging, who are going to give you, the accountability you need and all of those things. And so this just kind of ties in and comes full circle with all of it.
Right. Exactly. Which leads us to day 3. Yeah. Where now we start talking about the nitty gritty, taking action, and we're looking at how do we actually make this vision work in life? Because it's all great that we start talking about, I want to work like, 5 hours a week or 20 hours a week and make gazillion dollars, but how do you actually make this happen? And that's what day 3 is about putting all these things together. So what's the one takeaway that you got out of that day 3?
Man, it's so funny because like, the day 1 and day 2, people are, they're like, well, but how do I do this? How do I do this? I'm like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. And then by the time they get to day 3 and we show them how to do it, they're like, oh my gosh, this is so simple. Like, why didn't I think of this? Why it's never been presented to me like this before. This is so much more attainable than I thought it was. And, nobody had any significant challenges that couldn't be overcome and figured out.
Yeah. I love seeing people's faces when they have these realization, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
When we show them that one example on day 3 towards the later part of the morning, and they start looking, and we're like, what? And then they actually get to design that on their own. Yeah. I mean, one good different thing that we did on this particular 3-day Get-A-Life Getaway is that we had them do this exercise in a room. And I was walking around the room. I'm watching how they're doing this exercise and how they're going through it. And you can totally see how different people, literally their personalities come into it. Like one of them were trying to make it perfect. Yeah. And I'm like, don't try to make it perfect. Just do it. Right. Yep. So another one immediately went into putting down what work he has to do. I'm like, slow down, don't scratch that off. You got to do this part. Right. And it's all of a sudden that change that happens for people, and they start seeing, now how would that be possible, and how would that be possible? And that's a very, very cool exercise that we do that I think a lot of people have, that's kind of eyes open, because they don't look at it that way. I've never looked before I knew this exercise. I've never seen anybody, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. That's not what we were taught.
Man, totally true. And one other lesson that I really, really got from this event is because it was such a large event, there were a lot of different kinds of people in the room. Mm-hmm. And what I got from this event is that at our core, we are all very, very, very similar. Like, we talk to people who are making, 6 figures a month of income. And we talk to people who are struggling with income. We talk to people that had great relationships, people that had struggling relationships, people that were in great shape and people that were struggling to get in shape. And there's so many similarities to people, although on the surface we look different. It's not true. We're all after very similar things. And maybe we have a slightly different definition of what that looks like, but all of us want great relationships. All of us want to have freedom. All of us want to have income coming in that doesn't require us. There's so many similarities here, which is, by the way, why, Life in Air has really tweaked and perfected the formula in helping people do this, because we've seen it so many times. And so this is not to take away from anybody's unique characteristics, because people definitely are unique. But there's a lot of similarities that we just have helped people get through and work through and move towards, that are it's just like a formula. We know what it is. And so I love that we get to do that.
Yeah. One big takeaway that I had out of day 3 of the Get-A-Life Getaway is that, or if you remember, I showed this video in the morning, the football video. And the debrief that came after the video was pretty freaking awesome. And people gave some really different answers that we get a lot. I think it's partially because of the bigger room. But also, one big takeaway I got out of this video that I didn't see before. So if you remember, I'm not going to spoil the video because I want people to see it. But there was one part where that person in the video was struggling. It's a really painful thing. And the other person who's leading him, he goes, I know it hurts. And he says, it's all about heart now. It's all heart now. And I've never caught that until that 3 day, and it's all heart now. So think about it this way. In life, how many of us, when we're going through something struggle or going something hard in life or whatever, our heart has to take over? And the most difficult things that we have to do, it's not about, physical exertion or labor and things like that. The heart has to take over. And that's why when we talk about the why in the room, and why is so important, and we share the stories, and I share my story and all those kinds of things, because the heart plays a huge role in the success. Because when you have people naysayers, when you have people complaining about you and calling you all kinds of different names, think that you're stupid, maybe nuts or whatever it might be, that's when the heart comes into play.
Well, dude, heart. So only about why is a word that your heart understands. It's not a word for your head. It's a word for your heart. It's like a different language that your heart interprets and understands. And that's what gets you out of the bed every morning, excited for what you get to do. And when that is not, when something's wrong and you're not feeling excited about what you're doing, you're living somebody else's vision. And and so that's what ties it all together, and that's what makes your vision uniquely yours, because everybody's slightly different. And at the end of the day, when you're living that vision, like, it doesn't get any better. Like, it's awesome. Every area of your life is firing on all cylinders, and you've even most times started to pour that into other people's lives as well. It's not just about you.
Yeah. So any final overall takeaways out of the entire event?
Yeah, man, if you haven't been, you got to go. I know that sounds like a plug, but it is awesome. It is an amazing event. I had a woman email me. She said, this is the best workshop I've ever been to, and I've been to a lot. And so that kind of stuff, I love hearing it. People approaching us in the hallways saying, there was a woman who you mentioned earlier. She journaled about what happened, and she said, it struck me, like, you and Peter, literally, not figuratively, not like saying platitudes, or you literally changed my life. And wow. Can you, to change someone's life, man, and to have your life changed, like, it's just beyond words. It's beyond comprehension. And I love that I get to do this. And my hope for you as a listener, if you haven't been to an event, you can get out to one, because they are unlike anything else you've ever experienced.
Yeah. And the other thing that I would say on the other end of this is, those of you who were at the event or any previous events and are listening on this particular episode, shoot us an email. Tell us what's going on in your life. We love hearing the stories from people when, there's been some time. How has it changed? What happened for you? Are you taking different actions? Because when we hear those success stories and whatever, maybe struggles or successes afterwards, we love hearing this. It's a huge testament to what this does. This vision concept. This life and their vision, it's a profound thing that it does for people. Well, man, just take it on and show up and then take action. It does amazing things for you.
Well, and to that point too, man, like, I love hearing those stories because it inspires other people. Like, and we always keep personal details private. when that couple told us they paid off $376,000 worth of debt in under a year after coming to the event. That's awesome. Or the person who finds their perfect spouse and they're married now, or the person who saves their divorce, the person who loses 50 pounds after coming to an event, or who starts a business like that is pouring into others. Like, it's just awesome. Like, so I love hearing that. Peter loves hearing it. And quite frankly, like, I love to share that because it gives other people ideas and motivation and encouragement that this is possible. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode. We absolutely loved sharing with you what happened at this event. We'd love to see you at a future event. Guess what? Peter and I teach these. We are the ones up there at the front of the room and pouring into you. And so I would love to see you and be part of a change in your life as well, transform your life. And so go to lifeinner.com and you'll check out the events and see when those events are coming up. The Business Builder Workshop's also on there as well. And if you did like this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. We come at you every week with things that we hope enrich your life and help you move towards your vision. Also, don't forget about our Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group that anybody can join. You don't have to be a Life Inner member. Come in there. It's a great place to encourage each other and to move towards your vision. Until next week, everyone, see you soon. Take care.